Alright guys, and as always, I like to kind of talk about what's in the volume and then we'll get to why it's good, why it's bad, and if you should buy it. But this omnibus collects Adventures of Superman 445 to 460, Superman 23 to 37, and Action Comics 643 to 646, and Action Comics Annual Number 2. So these are three ongoing series that were running at the same time for Superman, and they all kind of cross over to each other. So Superman doesn't really have that many omnibuses, so I was a bit surprised when grabbing this that this would have the stories between the famous Man of Steel era, which are collected in four hardcovers, and the Death of Superman omnibus. So this is like in between. There are a few issues missing between this and Death of Superman, but this covers a nice large chunk, including Exile, which is probably the biggest story from this era. And I haven't heard much of these stories though, so I had very, very little knowledge going in, and if they were good or bad, I had absolutely no clue. Now, after 900 pages later, I can safely say that this era is pretty interesting, slightly flawed, and we'll get into why, but overall worth looking into for the fans of the Man of Steel. So these stories start off right where the Man of Steel hardcovers led off, so that's really nice as someone who's collected all four of them and really enjoyed most of it, except the ending kind of got a little iffy. I was really excited to jump into, a new era in a way, because we had Durgan coming in and kind of being the new head writer of Superman, or at least he would be soon. And so that's the direct sequel to that. It means that Clark is still dealing with the fact that he had to kill Zod and his people to stop them from murdering thousands of more people. The story starts simple enough, kind of like this good old campy fun with Superman saving the day. Silver Banshee makes a return, which is a lot of fun. And you got Brainiac in there, who is not my favorite villain, but him and Lex Luthor together do make somewhat of an interesting combo, since they're both very full of themselves and they both hate Superman, so that's kind of fun. And then it starts to get a little bit more interesting when we have Gangbuster return and he starts showing back up, and at the same time Jose, who was unfortunately paralyzed, gets the ability to walk again thanks to some LexCorp products. So this gets really exciting, and then we get the reveal of who this new Gangbuster is, and that's even better. But after the reveal, Superman is having some serious trouble figuring out what is wrong with him, both physically and mentally, especially mentally. So he visits his family one more time, and this time thinking it's time to take a very long vacation. He wants to exile himself from Earth because he's afraid what he might do. So that's what he does. He goes into space and he tries to find answers. He's seeking answers in the void of space, but for Superman, he can travel all along space. And to me, this is where the strongest part of the omnibus comes in. It's just Superman traveling around to different planets, meeting different species while helping them, and also helping himself in a way. It's really charming, and it actually digs deep into the psyche of someone who is wounded and hurt after his own actions while trying to do better. And I think for Superman, this is really interesting as someone who is near invincible, that he has to deal with issues just like pretty much everyone else in the real world. This is the most relatable I've had Superman be in a long time, or at least back in the 80s. Some of the modern stories I definitely could do, being that he's a father now, but this story arc in particular really resonated with me in terms of just finding out who you are and how to do better. And it has moments of sadness, it has moments of triumph, and eventually leads to the fight with Mongol on Warworld, which is really interesting because I read the recent Warworld and really enjoyed it with Mongol, so it was nice to kind of go back and see how that all started. So this was a really fun arc. But to say it's not really spoilers, as we know, Superman obviously returns to Earth, obviously, and it all leads up to those major events of Clark becoming the Man of Steel again that we know and love, the one who is a symbol of hope that knows what he's doing. And when we return to Earth, after about, say, 300-400 pages, things start to settle down more into the routine again. And while there are some cool storylines, I especially like the one with Matrix and Eradicator, and that's all pretty interesting, we fall back into basically one-shots that either average from pretty decent to not as good. I especially felt they dropped the ball with Kat's storyline here. I really liked her in Man of Steel ever. Here, I felt like she was just kind of there, and she had a couple of moments, but not like she was really getting the development I think she deserved. Also, Jimmy being a little too goofy for me. His storyline went bonkers. I don't want to spoil it, but it is weird. Let's just say Fantastic Four is a little upset of being stolen the ideas here. And I also have to say that the Lex Luthor storylines in this entire omnibus do not work for me. He actually has like kind of a mini series behind the issues of Superman in space, and they're probably the worst part of this omnibus for me. Extremely boring, not fun to read. The worst part of the book for me. Not a deal breaker, but definitely took it down a notch for me. But you know, with 900 pages, I'd say maybe 150, 200 weren't that great, and then maybe 100 were average. The other remaining 600 pages are pretty damn good. And while I don't think any of these stories are, you know, earth-shattering, it didn't change the status quo too much, it was really nice to see Supes just go into space, help others, and help himself mentally. Mental health is important, and sometimes we need a little break to figure out who we are in ourselves. And I really just enjoyed that aspect of the book a ton. And while some of the stories closer to the beginning and end of this omnibus are a bit weaker, the middle is so good that for Superman fans alone, I say that is worth a read. So I'm going to give this one a nice solid 3.5 out of 5. I don't think it's quite up there with the 4s, but I think it's a little better than the average and just slightly better than good. So it's right in between the 3 and 4 at the 3.5. That's one of my favorite ratings for books that I think fans of these characters will enjoy. I hope you liked this video. If you did, you know what to do. Hit that like button. That means a lot. That means more and more people like these style of videos. It means I want to make more for you guys. If you love this video, hit the subscribe because I got a lot more stuff coming out. Mostly comic related stuff, but I do some other nerdy stuff in between. And I hope you guys all have a great day, and let me know what your favorite Superman omnibus is. There's not that many, which is a little sad. Hopefully we get a few more, but the ones that we do have, what's your favorite? I would have to say probably my favorite one so far, I haven't read Death of Superman all the way through, but I'd say so far is Superman by Tomasi. I think that's just a great father and son relationship, and it's just really cute and well done. But let me hear what your thoughts are below. Everybody else, have a wonderful day.